Ask Ms. Denise Gibson, the principal of Eastside Elementary, to come forward as we recognize a very special employee that is going to take advantage of some retirement. And so with that said, I'll let Ms. Gibson and Ms. Mann take it away.
This is Ms. Mann, the assistant principal. And we're here tonight to honor Audrey Requena. She was a district employee for 24 years. She left actually in December, and we miss her so much already. Miss Audrey kind of kept everyone organized. She kept our custodial staff working in line, and she always came to us to share the problems or the good news or anything that was going on. So we really miss Miss Audrey, and we're glad to honor her.
So everyone that's a part of the Hendry County School District family is important. There's no one not important. Custodians, librarians, teachers, everyone serves a very specific function and helps make these young men and women get a better education and have a more comfortable stay. And so we can't tell you how much we appreciate everything that you've done over the years for all the students that you've come in contact with. It gives me great pleasure to present you this plaque that says, "Presented to Audrey R. Requena, custodian at Eastside Elementary, in appreciation for 22 years, I'm not even that old, of faithful service to Hendry County Schools." And that's from the Hendry County School District and all the school system. Thank you very much, and congratulations. Happy retirement.
I mean, Audrey has a brand new grandbaby, so she's super happy.
Lots to do. And for the second one, I'll just stay up here for a moment. Mr. Summers, if you would like to join. Mr. Summers is the principal of Lewiston High School. And this year, Lewiston High School was honored to have the Teacher of the Year. And with that, we'll ask Ms. Scott to come up, and then Mr. Summers is going to.
It's a pleasure to work with Ms. Goff. She's been doing an excellent job here at Lewiston High School for about 10 years now. Fresh out of the University of Florida. It's been a pleasure to watch her grow as an educator. Now she's a great educator. She has been teaching the material. It's just solidified. Thank you, Ms. Goff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, from my standpoint, this is a very special one for me for a couple of reasons. Ms. Goff teaches in the Agri-Science Department that captured me as a student and brought me into the educational world and later into the administrative world. And so it's very special that Ms. Goff, in the position she is, has won the Teacher of the Year. Secondly, the fact that a career and technical education teacher won Teacher of the Year is even more important in my mind as well. This shows the validity and the fidelity in which the CTE teachers do their jobs every day. As we go around the school district and we walk into classrooms and we visit classrooms and we watch the pedagogy of teaching and the good things and what happens, there's really no one better than Ms. Goff. Take the fact that she's a CTE teacher out of it. She's just a darn good teacher, and she teaches and does a great job. She runs one of the state's and probably arguably the nation's largest agri-science education program, probably has the largest land laboratory and school farm in the nation, and probably one of the only fully functioning farms that actually is a self-sustaining farm. And for that to be ran by Ms. Goff and a few of her colleagues there that teach ag and her students, that's absolutely amazing. And I know the work that it takes to make that happen, and I'm very proud of her. I'm appreciative of Mr. Summers' support for the CTE programs and what they've done. So, with no further ado, it gives me great pleasure to present this plaque that reads, "Honoring Jenny Goff, Hendry County Teacher of the Year 2023. We congratulate and thank you for the your dedicated service to the Hendry County school system." Thank you very much. Now, Ms. Goff, sorry, you submitted your packet, or are you getting ready to submit it?
Getting ready to.
And she'll submit it, and during the the summertime, she'll be competing for the state teacher of the year. So we hope to bring that one home as well. Thank you, Ms. Goff.
One up. That's still pretty impressive. All right, thank you. Mr. Superintendent, do we have any presentations tonight?
We do. Tonight, in keeping in concert with the presentations that were received from our schools, tonight we are honored to have some wonderful students and a great staff from Close to Middle School, and I will allow Ms. Tina Kelly, principal, to get us started.
Thank you so much. It's absolutely an honor to be here with you guys to share some good things that are happening at Close Middle School. A lot of times we have teachers that begin class by saying, hey, tell me something good, right? And our students speak back at them some good things that are happening. So I am very happy to share this good thing from my heart. This is one of my favorite things that happens on our campus. Back in 2020, we came back from COVID, and we decided we were starting clubs at Close to Middle School. And so I sent out an email to all of our teachers and just basically said, hey, if there's something that you really enjoy, if there's something that you're passionate about that you want to share with our students, you know, hit me up, let me know, because we want to have a place for our kids to hang out after school. And so one of the teachers that came to me, one of the staff members that came to me was Ms. Pereira, who is, as you can tell, is very passionate, you can notice my little sweater here, about crocheting. And so in 2020, we started the Crochet Club on our campus, and we have original members here. Who are some of our original people? The first ones that were in the Crochet Club, raise your hand. Yeah, so that we have a few here. And in the last 3 years, we've like doubled. Like we went from like maybe 20 kids to we have like 40 students, male and female, in our Crochet Club. And so I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Pereira to share a little bit and show you some of the amazing things that are happening with our students. So, Ms.
Just like Ms. Kelly said, I just wanted to, what can I do that, produces something that when you're finished with is a product that you'd be proud of. So I was like, okay, I don't know if they really want to do crochet. This sounds like, oh, that's an old lady kind of thing, But believe it or not, they came in, they love it. We've created all kinds of, their favorite part is when we get to the stuffed animals because they're actually making toys, but they make sweaters, they make bags, and just all kinds of things. So throughout the years, I was just doing one project at a time, and then I realized I'm slowing them down because some of them want to keep going. So I finally developed a little curriculum for it. So each student gets one, and now they're going at their own pace. So if one stays on the first project, they still can't master it, they stay there, but the others are trucking along. I want to introduce first my two veterans, the ones that started with me back in 2020, are still with me. Karen De Santiago, come up here, and Jackie Morales. And then I just want them to share what does Club Crochet mean to you. You go first. Karen, go first.
Good afternoon. For me, when I first started Club Crochet, I was really interested in a lot of things. I had a huge obsession with world flags and different cultures, and I know that my grandma at the time, she was still very active in knitting and sewing, and so I got interested in that too. When I found out that the middle school made a club that was crocheting, it excited me. It was like learning about the past, and that's one of the things that I really loved. To me, crocheting has been a lot because it's a project that I've stayed with for 3 years, and it's just something that I can be proud of because I make things by hand and I learn as I go. I learn something about everyone as you do it because some projects other people and they would like something for themselves, and it brings good memories to me. I made this snail last year, and I gave this little guy to my little sister, and she was so happy when I made it. It makes me happy to see my family happy. So pulling and making little creations like this is something ordinary or really cool for me because I'm making people happy in the process. I made this little bag, and my mom loves it. She loves those bags and all kinds of bags. And so when I gave it to her, she was really happy. She stored so many things in this little bag, and this one, before I knew it, it was missing. I couldn't find it anywhere. I go to my mom's room, and there it is. It's a really beautiful thing to be doing, and I'm just so happy to be a part of the Club Crochet because you make memories.
So Jackie doesn't want to say anything, but she is a very hard worker. She really, from the very beginning, she started working on it and she did a great job, and so she stuck with it. She's made many different projects. But I think our first year, she was like one of the best ones that the students that moved on. So I was very proud of her when she did join the club. I just want to mention about a couple more students. Okay. I want to talk about Julie. Julie Aragus, this is what I love about this, because you have to learn patience. You're learning a new motor skill. And Julie came in last year and she struggled. Her motor skills were not that great. And she stayed on the first project all year long. And what I loved about her is she didn't quit. She kept on, and I kept encouraging her, you keep doing that, keep doing it, don't give up, because if you give up on this, it makes it easy for you to give up on things in life as well. She stuck with it, she stuck with it. She came back this summer, this is her second year, and she came, it's like, I think the light bulb just clicked. And she came, Miss Pereira, and she just brought me all kinds of projects that she made me want to cry. And so I love that about Julie. Samantha, my entrepreneur, she's already made $200 with her creation. Her mother has a beauty salon, so she just, promotes and people buy from her. She takes orders, and so you can hit up Samantha if you want some things. And Jose, I gotta talk about Jose. This is his first year, and Jose is very brave, being amongst a bunch of women, and he can handle it. But he and I are in constant communication. Even on the weekends, he's emailing me, Miss Pereira, am I doing this right? I'm like, yes, keep going, or fix this, fix that. But we're in constant communication. But I was going, Jose, why are you going so fast? He goes, because I came late. I came in this 1 year, and I got to catch up to everybody else. But he went from beginner to advanced all in 1 year. So I'm very proud of Jose as well. She's also part of my advanced group, and she also has some presents for you guys. So I might want to go ahead and pass those out. And then the rest of my beginner club, I have Allison, I have Daviana, Solange. Am I missing anybody? Just make sure I got everybody. So these are key fobs that you can just, there you go. And Dr. Staley's up there. There we go. Thank you. All right, and that's about it. But we're gonna keep moving, trucking. I'm hoping one day if we can make this into a class, home ec or something, I would love to put this into the classroom, but it's something that we will take. All right, I'm just gonna, if you can give me a few minutes, I gotta wrap all this stuff up for everybody, okay?
How often do you guys
So, Ms. Nelson asked how often do we meet? So we meet once a week, but when we are really wanting to craft, last year we met twice a week, every week, all year long. So it's, because we got to get these projects going.
Awesome. Awesome. About buying the materials like your yarn and things you have in hand?
Yes, so we do fundraisers, and I started off with, someone donated $200, and we've turned that 200 into 2,000 right now.
Wow.
So when the girls come in, nothing costs to them. I give them a kit that costs about $20 to get started, and then they do fundraisers, and they pay, they bring in the money, which I buy all the yarn for them, so they don't have to spend a single cent.
Nice. That's very nice. Thank you all for the very nice.
Yes,
gift.
thank
Love
you.
it.
Great job.
Can we take a picture with you guys real quick?
Oh, yeah.
You guys need to attend the craft show.
Just grab some. Grab a beer.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Here's, I'm gonna call this. Thank you. Adorable.
Very nice.
Cute. We'll take a moment and try to get stuff together.
Thank you guys so very much.
Great.
That was fun. Workshop, and they come and teach. I don't think I could. Well, like what she
Don't forget that.
And my phone.
That was great. Okay, Mr. Superintendent, do we have any citizen comment this evening?
I have none at this time.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Are there any items that a board member would like to be pulled for action?
We get discussion on, maybe just an explanation.
Which one, Mr. Sandberg?
The clinical, I'm sorry, the addendum 1, soul and health. What services are they actually? I read the contract, but I still didn't understand the service. Or- Yeah, it's ESC.
It's, I believe it's the mental health services that they provide in that we have to contract in that we can't provide because we're not able to hire people or staffing shortages.
Okay,
So
so it's mental health, but it wasn't, when I read that, it said people that needed the service, but it didn't say definitively what I thought
Okay.
the service was.
Alliance is actually the overall company. They do speech language, they do counseling, they do nursing, they do, and I'm not sure which one Blazer were. So they do the extension. So any of those services that we have to contract with Alliance.
Is there a lot of those?
You'd be surprised.
Anything else?
No, that did it. Thank you,
All
ma'am.
right, you're welcome. Mr. Superintendent, do I have a recommendation for the consent agenda?
I recommend consideration, favorable consideration, approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
A motion by Ms. Houston and a second by Mr. Sammerdike. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, consent agenda carries. Action items. Action item A, new allocation, para at UES. Mr. Superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
Yes, I recommend approval of action item 5A, the para at the UES Elementary School.
Motion.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Reverend Mullen and a second by Mr. Vasquez. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll look at allocation. All right, action item B, approval to award bid 23-00017, purchase and lease of modular classrooms. Mr. Superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
I recommend approval of action item 5B.
A motion.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Vasquez and a second by Ms. We'll give Ms. Busen. Any further discussion?
So it says purchase and lease. Are we purchasing some and leasing some?
And so, yeah, so we're not purchasing or leasing any at this point, but this is a bid that we put out that lasts for a period of time. And this basically is the approval of the pricing to where if we do need to purchase or lease any. And so if we go to where we have to bring some in or we need to purchase or add on, we will bring that back to you in a separate item. This basically is approving the contract and the language and the pricing.
But no designated areas for the trailers.
At this point in time, no. We're going to do our utmost best to not do that. And it'll, you know, I don't believe we're going to make it the next 5 years before we get school built, matriculation of schools. So at some point in time, we will be back, but it's not tonight.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, award bid approved. Action item C, Hendry County School Board district-owned properties. Mr. Superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
So, no recommendation at this time. What I do have before you, we have submitted the information as requested by the board at the last meeting. They asked to see a bank of properties owned by the school board that, that were pretty much deemed not usable for a school site. And so we've been talking about this for quite some time, so Mr. Busen had it together already. And so we submitted that to you, and in front of you, what you have is, if you want to look at 5C, really is the balance and the explanation of the different pieces of property. And tonight, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them off of that. And then ultimately, I'm seeking board direction on, as a board, what y'all would like to do with said properties. The main one I would draw your attention to is the one that it is in Banyan Village, and it is the bottom on that list, and it's a vacant piece of property with 55 acres, and that is the only one that would ever be of size that we could actually build a school site on. That Banyan Village area is growing. Last year, well, roughly 2 years ago, there was 2 homes there. Back in September, there were 62 homes there. I don't know what the new count is as of today. That site, we even kicked around the possibility of that being our high school site, but at 55 acres, it's really not much more footprint than where we are today. And we would be busing and moving an enormous amount of our students and staff out of LaBelle to go to the high school. So we feel like that as growth in that area happens and continues the way it is, perhaps a K-8, when the time is right for us to continue to expand, a K-8 would be the perfect location and size for this said piece of property. Again, this is all theoretical based on growth, future, housing, and the need for the school. The balance of the property is about 107 acres, not counting the 55 acres. Most of them are in that LaBelle and Port LaBelle area. There's only, as it looks on here, I believe it's the top 4 that are in the Clewiston area, and the rest are in the Port LaBelle area. Again, whatever discussion y'all want to have, questions you want to ask, and then I'll accept whatever direction as a board you want to move in this.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
right before our meeting started, I took a phone call because I remember just basically probably being a little kid and eavesdropping and listening to grown folks' business. I remember always hearing about 10 Acre Field, which are the properties, IDs 5, 6, and 7, that
Yep.
it was a U.S. Sugar owned property. And that there was like a reverter clause that would kick it back to them.
Yep.
And so that property as it stands, I checked on that clause, and if that's going to be used for anything other than recreation, then it goes back to U.S. Sugar.
Yep. I'm sorry, I meant to point that out. I apologize. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, that is absolutely true. At this point in time, we don't have the ability to sell that piece. So, thank you for correcting.
Are we maintaining that piece?
It's a combination between us and the city. And so we mow it sometime, they mow it sometime, ball season starts, and they have the flail mowers that do a better job, so they'll mow it, and then it'll get bad, they'll need our bush hog, and so we go back and forth. We depending on the direction y'all want to go, we may exercise our right to let it revert, because at that point in time, we're maintaining a field for city recreation. We're not at a point where it's been a good relationship so far, but that's not to say that we need to continue. We're looking to streamline our footprint of lands.
This is in the city limits?
It's right outside of that window right there.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just on the side of our buildings.
Madam Chair, do we have any other properties like that? I was going to ask the exact same question Ms. Beasley did. Is that the only piece that we have that has those stipulations?
To our knowledge at this point, yes. When we did our first initial check with the property appraisers, we were talking about these. That is the case, yes. Now, as we look further into them, if the board decided to sell the balance of the properties, I would suspect you would want to get probably an RFP to get some sort of real estate agent to help market and then handle those transactions. Probably an appraiser, to give us an appraiser, so we make sure that we're asking and receiving at least a fair and adequate value of it. And through that process, we would have to do the title research to make sure that there was nothing there.
Madam Chair, can a school district just sell their excess property like that? Do you have to go through, I didn't know it would be in like governmental in nature. Do you have to go through like an auction process, or?
So the first thing has to happen, Mr. Busson has already worked with the same Department of Education folks that are working with the school, and they've already position the property so that they could be sold as far as they're concerned. So that takes care of the legalities of that. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, sir. We just have to write a letter that it's not deemed necessary to have it for a schoolhouse or anything else like that. But there is a letter, and she did send me the statute in the letter just in case if you choose to move forward.
Right, so that's step number one. I'll allow the attorney to answer step number two.
Yes, thank you, through the chair. So when a school district wants to sell property, there's not a lot of legal requirements, but there are some. Primarily, what you need to do is you need to have it on your 5-year educational plant survey or spot survey that the land is no longer deemed necessary for educational purposes. And then that gets approved by the board. And then you also, at the time that you would be selling it or otherwise disposing of it, you need to do a resolution of the board. That's something I can prepare, that basically says, affirms again that the board has determined that this property is not necessary for educational purposes, that it's surplus, and that whatever means that they've decided to dispose of it is in the best interests of the public. So a lot of times when districts dispose of property, it is by sale. In order to ensure the best price, you may want to get appraisals or put it up for bid, but that's not required. And also, I mean, it does not have to be that, right? You could do a land swap, you could donate it. You can do other things. There's really not a lot of legal requirements. The main thing being that you ensure that it's surplus, that it's not necessary for educational purposes, and you do the resolution to that effect. Thanks.
Madam Chair, that was one of the things I was thinking about is, as you know, I would hate to sell these assets now and then not have, like, you always want to kind of be thinking forward towards the future, at least like 20 years in advance. And like if there were properties that we are seeing, like areas in exponential growth, or like even like our 55 acres in Banyan, is there adjoining property to that that we could land swap with to create like a bigger footprint in Banyan Village? Or, you know, these rain trees, and this is all an area that you're seeing like exponential growth in now, and can you know, does somebody have some ag land that they would want to trade for this that's, you know, in a residential area that would probably be more valuable per acre? But like maybe think about, you know, possibly the like land swapping to continue to grow, because it doesn't cost us anything to have the land, but it would, I would just hate to sell it and not have any kind of like leverage for the future. Or
Well, then if it is sold, does that money, does it have to go back into like the capital outlay? Can we use it, what can we use that money for?
I suspect it would be capital. I don't know the specific answer, but I know between Ms. Cox and Ms. Shattuck, they can provide that.
We have a lot of capital needs. No question.
One of the things that was mentioned at the last meeting as well when we talked about this was maybe turning it into teacher housing.
Yes.
And so we've done a little bit of homework about that as well. And depending on the direction that the board chooses to go, we could put together a packet on what some teacher housing would look like, and then perhaps use this to buy down the lion's share of the cost of what that would look like in the Clewiston area specifically on some of our own footprint that we would keep.
But still allowing X company to manage that property, so we're not in the business of real estate?
Well,
or do you want
that,
to-
you know, that's, there's a lot of the discussion that we would have to have about that, and depending on how big we wanted to get, the only thing we need to be able to do is be able to offer some 1 to 2 year housing to a said new teacher we're trying to attract into our community, and give it to them at an affordable rate where they could afford to live, knowing that it's not long-term, and then keep turning it over that way. I'm not talking about a lot, not talking about a giant place, but just something with 10, 15 or so park model style, you know, mobile home
I like it.
type of places to live. But again, you know, we can put together projections on that. Again, I'm just seeking direction on the board, from the board.
I do not want one more mobile home in Hendry County than we absolutely positively have to have under any circumstances. I'm just gonna put, that is, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I have to
If we provided housing for a year or two, now the state has come up with the local heroes accounts that we had explained to us by a local realtor, that once they have established themselves and they establish their employment after 2 years, they should qualify for that local hero grant so that then maybe they could get into buying a house because they don't have to have that down payment because that's played forward until they sell that house. So there is some advantages if we can attract people. You sort of set that up as the whole deal. For 2 years you can live here, but then you're expected to either look for a rental or buy into the state housing program, just as a thought.
Good thought.
I'm just, Madam Chair, wary of real estate, and I don't know how the contracts go, but I just know, like, landlords in Florida have a rough go. It's not easy to get somebody out if you need them out. And, look what happened to property owners, investors when COVID came around. Like, they still had to pay their mortgage payments, but they did not have the renters were protected from having to pay rent. And that part scares me in getting into teacher housing because, sometimes you think you have somebody great on paper and then it doesn't work out for you. And then if you've got them in a residential area and they're like, well, or, you've got, they're part of this residence, part of their job. I mean, it's like, what kind of position does that put us in having to evict? And I mean, I just think it opens up a whole can of worms, like even when we start thinking about getting into teacher housing.
It's not something that I want to do by no means, but I feel like it's something that we need to do. It's where we've reached a situation to where Lee County just dumped an enormous amount of millions of dollars into their insurance program, where it's going to be at a very low cost for the dependents. We struggle with our wages being much more than average, for the rural districts in the state. And so, we're geographically locked in Clewiston. It's always harder to attract teachers to Clewiston even than LaBelle because they got a much closer commute from LaBelle to the coastal areas. And so, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I do feel like we need to be creative, think outside the box, and do something where, with all those things said, when we're able to offer a said bedroom or 2-bedroom spot to a teacher at a that $500, $600, $700 a month range, that's going to put them over the top and help get them here and hopefully suck them in and get them involved in our community, involved in our schools and the school families. That's going to be one of the only leverage points that we're going to have going forward. And it's only going to continue to get more competitive because all the school districts are coming up with stuff outside the box on what they can do, how they invest their money to continue to attract them. If we don't do something, we're going to be behind that 8 ball as well. So I'm not saying it's a silver bullet. I'm not saying you got to do it, but I do believe that we need to think outside and do something different. And housing is one of the things that's a hot topic with everyone.
Have we seen any successful models like this or teacher housing models, like particularly in like rural or heartland communities? I know that they have things like in Miami-Dade. Like we're not even like playing it that way. But I didn't know if they had like any kind of initiatives like this that have worked out.
A lot of them are in plans, I will say. And so again, that's us being behind the 8 ball, where if we don't and they do, then they're providing housing, they're providing better insurance, our salaries a little higher, and it's just going to continue to get harder and harder and harder because we sit and offer nothing that's outside the box to be more than it's said.
Maybe we need to blaze a trail anyway, something like that. I mean, you look at the Guardian program. Nobody else did it. We did it. And now look how many other people have followed suit. We blazed a trail. We can't be afraid not to do something because nobody else has done it. If it's going to be beneficial to our district and help us bring teachers in, I don't see why we shouldn't look at it and study it out a little bit deeper. Whether it's mobile homes, which is nothing wrong with mobile. I live in a mobile home. There's nothing wrong with a mobile home. Or whether it's stick construction or concrete, it doesn't matter. If it's a home, then we can help these people get into them I don't think it really matters other than we're not putting in a tent, you know?
There's construction planned in the area, and Clewiston specifically that are in plans. The problem is they're a minimum of 2 years away from opening a single door. We need help in August. We need help now.
For the mobile home.
Mr. Busey's magic, he pulled it off.
Some of these new modular homes are quick fixes.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think people get the impression, oh, it's a trailer, and all of a sudden it's a negative impact. That's not so, but we have other options that are cheaper housing.
Yes.
Be it the new trailers are pretty spectacular. And some of those modular houses are pretty reasonable. We've been looking at one.
Well, and last year when we were talking about the renovation of the two-story white building, we actually went and interviewed the new teachers. And we spoke to them about what was important to them. So it's us thinking about a place to live is one thing, but put yourself, as a college graduate looking for somewhere with your starter job and a starting place. They described a 400 to 600 square foot with a very small kitchen, a very small bathroom, and just one big open room, a flat, if you will. So they don't have, what they're looking for in a home is drastically different than what,
They probably still have that college.
That's right, and they were happy with that. And so that small modular, small park model, small whatever, is way nicer, than what in at least their mind that they would get for that type of money anywhere else in America right now. It's not, again, I go back to, it's not ideal, it's not where we want to be, but I feel like that we ought to do something strongly if we're going to be competitive in the market of attracting teachers here.
So you need direction from the board.
So specifically, what I'm asking you, if you have direction, if you're ready to give direction on this property, then we can act on that or get the ball rolling on that. And with regard to teacher housing, we can do RFPs without any direction because that's not any cost out of your pocket or our pocket at that point in time to start put pricing together. And then we can come back to you with said cost and say, we can do it for this. We got this bid in, and here's what we're proposing. And then at that point, then y'all can pull the trigger and say, yeah, we could either leverage this property or leverage other capital funds or lever whatever we have to do to make that happen. And then bear in mind, obviously these people are going to be paying rent, so we don't have to pay the whole thing. They're going to, we can do a mechanism where they can help pay off as they go and stuff like that.
I make a motion that you get this ball rolling and let's see what it is going to take to maybe convert some of this vacant property into teacher housing.
Okay, all right, can we be more specific? Because, and now when I say that, so what direction would you like to see happen with the current properties? Do you want us to go ahead and that's where I need it. I mean, the options in my mind are do an RFP to acquire a said broker. We can get the appraisals. That would cost a little bit of money to get the appraisals, but not a terrible lot of money. And then go from there. Do y'all want to see those in front of you?
I say let's do an RFP first. Let's get some people that are interested in developing and or want whatever you're thinking on.
Okay.
And
What I'm saying is an RFP for a broker who would help with the advertising, handle the sales, and take care of that minutia between. We're not real estate.
not for teacher housing.
No. So two different things going on. So the land here, I'm saying an RFP for a broker to handle that and get an appraisal. That would give us an idea of the type of income we could expect to have off of that. That would allow you to know the leverage point at what said property or what and then also in the meanwhile we'll do an RFP and get some pricing together on what a housing unit would look like as well. And then you would kind of have both of them hand in hand, and then you could make an informed decision. We would like to have housing. We know we could get this all said property. We could leverage one against the other. Ms. Cox can give us other ideas or other proposals if possible through financing, so that gives us time to make all that happen.
If we do get an agent, then
Right.
we would know about what we could get for each piece, but this 0.010, that's not really a buildable.
It is. It's connected. There's about 3 pieces of property that are connected, and they're real wonky the way they're chopped up and the way that they made them do the land. So yeah, it's actually a lot just off 27 over the railroad tracks.
Well, I think it'd be nice to know what the value of each piece of
I
property
agree with that, yeah. How about that appraiser that said $45,000 for every acre?
Yeah, that's
that
who
we
we need
paid?
to appraise
That's
this
who we
and
appraised
get
our
that
property.
broker. What?
All right, so you
properties.
Yeah.
And then, for the building values, however you were wording all of that for both. So we
Okay.
have a comparison on.
All right, can do.
I second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so let's get those RFPs going.
Can do.
Thank you, thank you. All right, I'm trying to get back to my. All right, old business, do we need to discuss the school board Hendry County protocols again? Do we have a clean copy of those?
I think they're on your, they are presented there.
There is, I have a printed out. Is there any discussion, any more discussion on that?
Madam Chair, I have a few more comments.
Okay.
Looking over it, cleaned up, and one of the things, I went back and looked under board member rules and authority, it'd be page 2. At the very bottom, it's talking about how we're requesting information. Can we add that we want to bring back the board request tracking log? Remember that was a Google document that put the board members' requests in there. I have a printout of my old one, but this one, remember that document, that working document, so that we know, because like, you know, some of the things I've requested here, I look back and I was glad, I couldn't find it in my emails, but I was glad I had this printout because it brought, I just feel like, you know, some things on it are still relevant. And to work through that, and if all those board member requests, if they are going to be, when they were received, and if they were denied. I don't know if that's something that other board members would like. I like having that, keeping that track of what requests were made.
So did that come under old business? We had discussed this, I've sort of lost my thought on this. Well, when this person is asking for it, at one time we were gonna call it old business, and it would just sort of follow us until it was, like if they tabled something, then it would show up as old business until we dismissed it or voted on, or.
But so like the format has changed, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The format, I feel like, has changed a little bit through these protocols. And then, like, this was, you know, we were gonna keep like the running tab until it was checked off. But the protocols, the proposed protocols create like a mechanism where we can bring it before the board and be like, okay, it's gonna take 3 hours to do the program sustainability assessment. Is that something the board wants to approve to get that information? And I'm just using this as like example. Wants to approve or not. And then like, but I think that it would help with, you know, just keeping track of like what we have asked for and what gets shut down and where we're at and what other people are asking for and what our timelines are. And because like some of these stuff, this, like for instance, some of the stuff I was asking for in May is relevant now. I mean, particularly like.
Well, and what we just approved, we just voted on for our superintendent to go out and do these things. Does that become part of that log? How do we track that? So, or do you just automatically come back every month or meeting to tell us how it's going?
I think the tracking logs were for specific request items that each board member had made.
That's what
That
this
was
is
different than,
Oh,
I think that, but that's different than what you're
The
saying.
board action.
Right, no, that's a difference.
Okay, that's
An
what I'm-
RFQ or something that you've asked action for me to go do, that's a different
This would be
request.
like if I wanted to know how many students were absent at Cabell Elementary School on Monday, the
Okay.
7th or something.
Thank you.
Very specific per board member.
But I mean, I feel like it falls under the criteria of not aligned to board discussion or action items.
And attorney, do you have any feedback from that?
Yeah, absolutely, through the chair. So this item was being brought back. It was what we discussed at the 2 workshops for, you know, your approval tonight. But if you want to discuss making additional changes to it, that is certainly something that we can do. And, you could approve it tonight with those changes, with the understanding that I'll make those changes and get you a clean copy, or you could just table it and have me make those changes and then bring it back to another meeting, or you could just decide you don't want to make changes. So it's really up to the board how you want to handle this item.
What language you want to put in or take out?
I would just like to have, like here where it talks about the request for general information from board members, that we maintain a board request tracking log, so that when we do make a request, we know when we made it, and if it is, like if it's something that that falls in the 1 hour timeline, bam, in and out, gone. But if it's something that's gonna have to come before the board, or comes before the board, I'd like to see that on the tracking, whether it gets denied or whether it gets approved, or.
I'm just confused about the tracking that you're referring to. So you would want that to be in a separate report?
We already have the document created. And so that's like if we make a board member request, you make a particular request on something, it's determined, you can't get it below an hour.
That has to come before the board for approval?
Yeah, but it would be on your board tracking list, your request tracking list, so you would know, at least, I think it's a good reminder, but it would, be that documentation that you are asking the questions.
Wouldn't that also be in the minutes?
No, the minutes are kind of sterilized sometimes. If you don't get an action on things, then, I don't think, and all requests aren't necessarily made in a school board meeting either. Like if you have a request that you shoot to the superintendent, I think that it should go in.
Wouldn't that still be a public record though?
Should you have to file a public record request to see it?
No, I'm just saying there's a record of it. That's what I thought you were after, was a record of it. That's why I was asking.
Like a reminder,
so that everybody can see it.
Yeah, like us, the board.
But it's a tool that we have existing already,
Yeah,
right?
just-
So,
I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding exactly what she's after. So, I don't see a problem putting it on there. Doesn't bother me.
Just to keep track of our requests and.
but you want to take a tool that we have and add it to the program?
Yes.
That's what I'm.
Yes, not creating anything new, just using what we have.
Add a little extra language
Just-
in there.
Just putting it there,
Send it to Ms. Shattuck and ask her if there are.
It's something we have, so maybe we just write that in on page 2.
Let's say send it to Ms. Shattuck, let her email everybody, the verbiage, and let's look at it. And bring it back to the next meeting.
So we don't need to take any action.
So it sounds like the board is saying that they'd like to see a written draft with this proposed change. So does somebody just want to make a motion to postpone it? I will create a new draft, and then that can come to your next meeting.
Make a motion, we table this until the draft is done.
Second.
Or further discussion? All in favor? Discussion?
Could I also discuss something else?
Well, let's finish this, and then we'll go to that. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, so to go ahead, now Mr. Brown, something you have?
On page, wait a second, 6, that is 6, right? At the top, public participation, board members will not engage in direct back and forth conversation with the public during board meeting. Instead, board members may speak specifically to items addressed during the citizen input at the end of the public meeting. I understand what that's saying, but when a person comes up and they all upset or whatever it is, and they tell us, and then where it is now, we say nothing but thank you, and then the person leaves thinking like we didn't hear them. Can something be said like, what happens is they may have already spoke to you, and we don't know. And so in some way, trying to find out, you can let us know, okay, I've already talked with them, and we met an impasse or something. sit there the whole time or leave or something. And you keep them sitting there like this, everybody walk out, and you looking crazy sitting up here. Without responding.
Add that to our guidelines.
I don't know how you would word that, but we need to respond, not back and forth, but say, ma'am, can you see the superintendent after this, and he work with it.
Right.
But you already did that already. Then we would just be saying something already been done.
Okay.
It's a touchy situation when somebody comes in and they're emotionally stressed, and we sit there like 5 potatoes. We don't say anything.
Yeah.
But what if the chair said, board members will not engage in direct back and forth conversation, and said that during that presentation? Then it's out for the complete audience to hear. Then they know why we're not responding. And after they're done, we could speak if we want to. It would still be voluntary, but at least it clarifies it, because, you know, I feel terrible when people are all upset and they look at you like, and you're like, you know, we don't respond.
Yeah.
That's all. At least it clarifies why we're not responding. We can still choose to respond or not respond, but at least we know why.
Or let them know.
That's right.
You see the superintendent after this or
So,
something.
with the new guidelines that we'll use, so if we have citizen comment, I'm going to read this prior to, I'm sorry, each person coming up. So number 5 says, as board members listen to citizens without comment, citizens are expected to give board members the same respect. So we could either add to or edit.
I just don't want them to walk away as if no one, you know.
So if she reads that, though, then that'll cover that. That'll-
I don't think that covers it.
Well,
No,
maybe
it's okay.
clarify it, to say something like you, board members are here to receive our public comment. They will be offered the opportunity to reply during board member business at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, that'll work.
And then at least gives them an idea that there is an opportunity for a response directly from the board, but then when it would come.
Well, then that's in the direct, it says input at the end of the public comment. The board members will have the opportunity for public comment without engaging in dialogue with the citizen. That's how it says it now.
They don't know that.
I agree, they don't know that, that's why I don't know why we don't just say that.
Then why don't we just put that verbiage on the board comment card sign?
And change number 5 to state this.
I think it
bullet.
is.
Well, this is the.
Yeah.
board members will not engage in direct back and forth.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, we can do that, but there's.
Walk in there. Matter.
I can make
Mad,
that.
already mad.
We have to all of them.
Okay, I think our attorney has,
You have that.
she has
You
an
have that.
understanding, so
You have that.
you can make that edit as well, and do we need to make any comment?
I will say this, every time we've had one to come, they've already been to the superintendent already, and they just want to come in.
I think a lot of people think they can come to the board, and the board's gonna override the superintendent.
I wouldn't say every time.
Some.
Sometimes they
Yeah.
come. They would direct them back to him, if he be.
But I get what you're saying, you know, it's a confusing process, and if you don't understand how it
You walk
works.
in matter.
Right, but if we change the verbiage, I think that would be weird. And again, we can post this once we get it.
Yeah.
Maybe
Probably had to do that. That's a good suggestion. Add it to the comment card. We had to sign anyway.
put it on our webpage or Facebook page.
And I like the club.
I know.
Ms. Collins. Ms. Collins.
Go, Ms. Collins. Okay,
Collins, Ms. Shattuck, that for us.
so are we good on the proposed?
Yeah, you missed it.
Nothing else? Okay. Madam, do you have any, with legal updates, is there anything that we need to touch with that?
Yes, thank you, Chairwoman, members of the board. I did want to let you know, with regard to a litigation update, Hendry County School Board did file a lawsuit against Juul for the vaping epidemic, and they are proposing a settlement. I don't know if you saw it in the news. It's about a $600 million settlement with hundreds of plaintiffs like the school districts. And so I should have a settlement offer for you at your first meeting in March. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that that was in the works. You may have seen that in the news. I have not seen the settlement offer yet, but I'm supposed to get it in February and should be able to provide that to you at your first meeting in March.
600 million, we'll take the whole thing. Settle.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Superintendent?
Y'all probably seen the emails from the state, but this is, the governor has declared this CTE month. And Mr. Lucanhouse, I believe, is presenting at one of the upcoming meetings, but y'all know we have a very robust CTE program in Hendry County, and again, has grown this year. When he presents his yearly update to you, you'll see the growth that they've had. Again, just crushing it for the rural districts and competing with the urban districts in the state. I'm very proud of that. And in fact, we have a CTE teacher as our teacher of the year for the district. It was very, very impressive. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. I have nothing tonight. Mr. Brown? Okay, Mr. Rassberg?
I do have one thing. And I know that baseball and softball season is upon us again. And for several years now, I don't know how many years, I know that we have been into an agreement with the city of Lewiston about maintaining ball fields, and we paid them to use those fields. And for several years, the fence at the boys' baseball field over here in Lewiston is down behind the batting cages. So kids can just walk in, or anybody can just walk in, and we're losing gate money. It's gone. Yeah, so I'd like to see if we could get the city to put that fence back up. I don't know how much, we could be losing there, but every dollar in this day and age counts for these kids for the athletics. I'll check it out. Thank you. That's it.
Mr. Sandberg?
Yeah, just one thing, I'll probably just take a couple of minutes here, and it has to do with House Bill number 1. This is a big one here, and I'm just sharing information with the board. It's the universal school of choice. The bill will allow students, all students will be eligible to receive state funding for private tuition and homeschools. There will be no income restrictions. There's looking at right now, $7,400 annually will be taken out of the FEFP money and sent to people who have decided to go to private schools. In addition to that, at least $750 for transportation to those parents if they're sending them to other schools, unless the school district's expenditures per student are higher, and then they will match that. Now, what I'm thinking is we need to have a greater presence in our community. People don't recognize all the wonderful things that we do for our students. For example, I'm just going to read some of this, so I apologize. As far as sports go, we have football, we have both high schools, boys and girls basketball, boys and girls soccer, boys and girls wrestling, boys and girls cross country, boys and girls tennis, boys and girls track, boys and girls baseball, softball, boys and girls cross country. And that's just the sports that we prime for our kids all over our county. Then look at the clubs. This is just one of the high schools. We have the art club, we have the athletic club, we have the book club, we have the color guard that's marching in the parades, we have drama clubs, we have fellowship for Christian athletes, we have Florida Public Service Academy. All these are service academies for our communities, but they get lost. We have the Fire Academy, we have a history club, we have the Interact Club, the Key Club, the Marching Band, Mo Alpha Theta, the National FFA Organization, National Honor Society, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, STEM, Students Against Drunk Drivers Club, Student Government, Students Working Against Alcohol. We have the Tech Squad that is actually repairing computers in our schools. We have Voices Unidos, we have the yearbook. We're providing so much extracurricular activity for our students, but we're not recognizing it. We have to have a bigger footprint in our community. Suddenly you're going to hear, oh my gosh, my kid can go to a private school. but they don't know what we're offering. And I don't know how we do this, but I think that somehow it has to start at the top, with the school board, with our upper administration. I think our school board, look what we had tonight at the middle school. Those kids loved it, they're inspired, they have to maintain their grades to do it. We have just so many wonderful things going on, but I'm not sure how we do this. One of the things we had a long time ago is we had a public relations person, and we paid them on a part-time basis, and they were in the newspaper, and they were on the radio, and they went around, and they just created maybe a better website, something we need to splash, because it's coming. It's coming July 1st. There's no doubt that House Bill 1 isn't gonna pass. There's gonna be a few tweaks to it. It's 50 pages long. It's definitely gonna be impacting the schools. We need to be upfront on it a little bit. Our presence needs to be in there. Here's one of my kids going to public school.
So we
What
need a
is that?
campaign.
Hmm?
We need a campaign.
Somehow, a campaign of some sort, that's right. Whether it's a campaign, we just need a bigger footprint in our community so they know. That's what I had to say.
When he lost, we had local papers.
I know.
I'm not even sure there is one. I think the Bell helping is the.
Once a month.
So
Once a month.
that's
And
really
that's
big.
only to city. If you're in the city.
Yeah.
Right, and we do, the schools, and I encourage the schools to do a social media.
I took it right off the bill.
The social media is about, the only platform we have left. We have a district social media page, but you're right, it's hard to get out there. And the schools do a pretty good job, but they don't have a dedicated person as a reporter, to put stuff out there. Neither do we as a district. But I agree, we need to toot our own horns. We don't do enough.
Mr. Saber, I kind of feel like what you're saying is we need to explain to parents, because they're going to see, I can send my kid to a private school.
That's right.
They have an issue. Let's explain to them, this is who we are, this is what we have to offer before, we want to do this before that bill comes out and they start making decisions that I'm sending my kid here or there. Is that?
Yeah,
And we can use our chambers.
It's a visual, okay? We have the Swamp Cabbage Parade coming up. Almost every one of these clubs could have had a float on that parade. The wrestling team could be out there in their uniforms, things like that. There's no visual presence, is what I'm saying. How do I do that? I don't know, but I'm bringing it to the people that make the decisions right here tonight, saying something has to happen.
This is June.
July 1st, and you know what? There's no doubt this isn't going to pass 50 pages of how things are changing and how that money is going to be directed. Now, there are things that, they just don't send the money. They sort of put it in an account, and then the account has to go to the school and see what the school is going to charge, and if that tuition is there. But it'll pay for books, it'll pay for transportation, it'll pay for everything. It's a huge change coming up. I don't know. Our attorney hear much about this yet? I mean, I know it's coming, you see it on the news, but it's a big 50 pages. I'm trying to read through it. Yeah.
I'm good for this minute.
But I don't know, I'm just looking for ideas. And we need to do this, we need to do something. Thank you. That's it for me.
Okay, Ms. Beeson?
Madam Chair, I'd also like to speak about House Bill 1. I'm seeing it through a different set of lenses than Mr. Sammerdyke here. We do share the belief that this is absolutely going to come to fruition. I've learned about it directly from the governor's camp, and you're looking at who's running the bill. You're going to have a Senate companion, and when the governor gets on television and says that this is a part of his freedom blueprint, and that we're going to have the most expansive education funding, I feel like they've got something pretty close. One of the things that I agree that we do have a lot of tremendous good things going on in our school district. But there's no better public relations than success, and no better public relations than performance, and no better public relations than good word of mouth. And, you know, these were kind of my final words at the last board meeting, at the end of the meeting, was that, you know, this legislation is coming, and we as a school district, and we have to really focus on serving the needs and wants of our clients. And while we do have great things coming and going on in this district, we are a low-performing district. And that is going to open the floodgates for these high accountability charters. And I just, you know, I agree we have to put our, you know, the good things we're doing out there, but we've really got to focus on providing quality outcomes for these kids, because somebody is going to be willing to do it. And that money will follow those kids in education savings accounts. And I just, you know, can't stress the importance of, if we're going to save public education, then, you know, we've got to focus on the metrics that matter to families, and which is student achievement and student outcome and growth. Also, I want to touch back again on what I talked about. And if you remember, before I move forward, on the board request tracking log, you know, these are the reasons I'm asking for the thing like that. Now, like, I know that we've had, and what you're going to see here, it's going to be a huge impact to our budget, because the scholarships that were usually were offered to students before were done through tax credits. And there's companies, the biggest company in our county offers private school scholarships to their employees. Now they're not going to have to pony that money up. That money's going to come straight from the state, and it's going to flow through our school district, and that's going to be, I mean, I think that's going to be a negative mark on us. We're really going to see. And when we look at the school choice, the people already choosing school choice in Clewiston, you're not seeing it in LaBelle like we do in Clewiston. We've easily got 600 kids in private schools out of the city of Clewiston. And when you start adding up, you know, the kids that and probably half of those are on scholarships, the other half are going to be charged to the school district after that. So, I mean, these are some pretty significant numbers that I think that we have to be able to wrap our heads around, as far as future planning for us, everything from budget to capital needs. So just wanted to talk about that. And then also, I know that we've had some pretty significant discipline issues in our secondary schools, particularly in the Clewiston area. And I talked about the last meeting, you know, we're talking about the need to attract teachers. I went to an event in Glades County, and I saw a tremendous amount of our teachers, our homegrowns, our people there. And it's an overwhelming pattern of the student discipline issue. And in the secondary school, getting, you know, a baby getting snarky with you is a whole different ballgame than an adult-sized student cursing you out, and you know, having to break up violence, and I think you know, I'm hearing that it's wearing on them. We had 2 major events, and I mean, I don't know how we remedy this, because I know it can't be entirely the school's fault. You know, there's things happening in neighborhoods, but I would hate to see us like lose our teachers and lose our schools and lose our communities to behaviors and poor behaviors. And I mean, and I know that that's, you know, I've been told it's already happening. These are deciding factors for people. And I mean, I just think it has very long-reaching consequences. And I mean, I don't know how to fix the behaviors. I wish I did, but I know that we got to do something, because our staff and our schools are struggling.
Can I follow up on that? Mm-hmm. Just to give you some factual information. So there was some couple of horrific events over the past week and a half. At Clewiston High School, up until the fight that they had a week ago, they'd only had 1 other fight all school year long. So there's only been 2 what they consider to be major fights and only 1 minor one. Compare that to any other year, the discipline is phenomenally down. At LaBelle, they've only had a small handful all year long. Clewiston Middle School had one the following, which would have been last week now. And it was not a pleasant one at all. That was only about the second one that they've had all year. When Mr. Sanchez does his presentation, when he talks about the secondary schools, you will see that overall the data, if you track the data and the true trust the data, which we do and we know that it's factual, we are down phenomenally with our data and discipline referrals. We're not perfect. Students aren't perfect. The fights are way down from where they are traditionally on a mark in any other year, and referrals overall are down. Do we still have referrals? Yes. Do we still have students that are teenagers and make bad decisions? We do. But are teachers frustrated? They are, but no more or less frustrated, I think, than they are in Florida or in the rest of the world right now with education. But when you look at what's going on in our schools, discipline-wise, we are on a positive trend with regard to referrals and what's happening there. And so I'm not saying it's not there at all. I'm not saying we're perfect, but it's not our specific behaviors in Hendry causing teachers to leave no more than it would be in any other school district anywhere else in America.
Swamp Kill.
Yes.
Any interest in the parade?
That's up to y'all, whatever, follow the direction of the board.
The last full weekend, about the 25th, 26th of February.
I have a lead. You asked about a buggy, and so I'm trying to secure a buggy. I have a tentative agreement. I think I have one lined up. If not, if y'all want to do a truck or a float or out on a trailer or something, we can make something happen if the board so desires. So I'll follow the direction of the board and what y'all would like to do.
See if you get the buggy and.
A good buggy.
You got a seatbelt?
No, sir, parachutes though. Parachutes. It's tall.
Got a dog box, you sit in the dog box.
I need a seatbelt.
Seatbelt. Ratchet strap.
Did we bring the side by side?
Not me, all we have, but I'm working on it, and I think I have a buggy. I'll let you know as soon as I know if we have a buggy or not. If that helps you.
Are you?
Okay.
When I take this piece in, is it something do you think you'll be interested in?
Well, I don't want to be up out there by myself.
Well, I mean, obviously, I think it needs to be the majority of the board, but if Mr. Samerdine or Mr. Swindle cannot secure the buggy, I have a Kubota that is a four-seater, and one can sit in the back and four in the seats. But I just need to know how many people want to do it. It's called a Kubota. His name is Kubota. It's a utility.
Okay, but my seat.
It's
Like a golf cart on steroids. But anyhow, I mean, I'll throw that out there as an offer, but, so do you want them to continue?
That's before the next board meeting.
It is.